Hey guys! Thanks for checking out the Film Geek. Today I'm talking about the 1998 film, Fallen.
Did Reese like to sing?
Yeah, he did, actually.
And at the execution, did he try and touch you or grab you?
Yeah, he did. He shook my hand. Yeah.
You want some coffee?
Sure.
Fallen is starring Denzel Washington, Donald Sutherland, and John Goodman. The story of Fallen goes like this. Denzel Washington plays a homicide detective that witnesses the execution of a serial killer that he just put in prison. Now, after this serial killer is put to death, suddenly there is a bunch of copycat murders throughout the city. Denzel Washington dives back in to try to save the day, and well, that's when things get really weird. Come to find out, this is no mere mortal, no. This is an actual demon. Yeah, that's right, this movie goes there. It goes supernatural, religious kind of thing, right? So the way this works is that this demon has no physical form, but can be transferred person to person by touch. So there's a lot of really cool, creepy scenes where the demon is just traveling from body to body throughout all these people, and Denzel Washington's trying to figure out who it is. So this movie has some really cool and great ideas. Now this movie was filmed on a budget of $46 million and sadly didn't even come close to making that money back at the box office. No, it pulled in only about $25.4 million. Now as someone who actually did go to the theaters and see it, it was kind of nice being in a theater where there wasn't that many people, but at the same time it sucks because, this movie is almost completely forgotten. So what are some things that I think really killed this film at the box office? Well, number one, it was released in January. Now, if any of you guys know anything about the month of January in movie theaters, that's Hollywood dumping grounds. That's normally the movies that just get thrown out there that the studios either don't know what to do with or really feel like they've got a massive flop on their hands and they're just trying to get out in theaters because, well, they have to put it out in theaters. This movie isn't one of those. The studio may have thought that, but it's not. Critics really ate this movie alive too, which I don't get. They said that it was creative, but not creative enough. They said even though the concept was cool, the problem was that it was still filled with all of the usual kind of tropes. A lot of people compared this to the movie Seven also, which honestly I don't see the connection except for the very religious overtones, but that's not enough for me to say that this is a clone of Seven. This movie's very distinctly its own film, and I think that it just did not get a fair shake back in 1998 when it came out. So what are some of the things that I liked about this? Well, as I said, this movie's very creative. It's a completely different take on the thriller genre. It does walk that thin line between thriller and horror movie. The performances in this movie are great. Every one of the actors do amazing jobs. Even the extras that just kind of get pulled in off of the streets because of this demon do a really good job. The acting in this movie is spot on. It's really cool, and there's just this really creepy vibe throughout the entire thing. Obviously, you never get to see the demon because there is no physical form for him. So what they do is some camera tricks and everything, like when you're looking through the eyes of the demon, it's kind of a yellowy color and it floats around and he tries to find himself another human host. It's really cool the way that they translate to the viewer at home, hey, this person's been taken over. There's a use of the Rolling Stones' Time Is On My Side, and it really creeps you out. You will not look at that song the same way ever again after you finish this movie. So as a thriller, it really delivers in the suspense and atmosphere department. One last thing I want to say about this movie also is that the ending of this movie is wow. It's dark, it's haunting. You're gonna walk away from this movie after you watch it feeling the same way you did at Seven. It wraps everything up, but it's not in a pretty box. This movie is not happy. It was never meant to be happy. And that's one of the things I really enjoy about this film. One of the issues I think it had at the box office also was the fact that the 90s were just overloaded with thrillers. Where the 80s were all about the slasher genre, the 90s were all about the thriller. We had tons. So you get Seven, and everybody's like, oh, Seven, Silence of the Lambs, oh, Silence of the Lambs. Now everybody has to make thrillers, and there's all these books that are mysteries and everything coming out all over the place. So if the 80s were the decade of the slasher film, I'm gonna say that the 90s were definitely the decade of the thriller. So what's the problem? Why didn't audiences want to see this film? Well, it came out 1998, so there was definite thriller fatigue at the time of this film. Even with its extremely creative premise, audiences were just kind of done with the genre at the time. Alright guys, if you're interested in watching Fallen and you're a subscriber to Hulu, good news, it's on there right now. So check out Fallen. You can also find it out there to rent on pretty much all of the rental platforms. I didn't find one, Hulu, Prime, all the usual suspects. This is a great movie, especially if you're a fan of Denzel Washington and you didn't even know about this movie. Check it out. Okay guys, that brings us to the end of another Film Geek video. Thanks again for checking everything out. Don't forget to like the video if you liked what you saw here today. Ring that bell for notifications, and of course, subscribe. And the one thing you can keep doing, folks, is keep watching movies. I'm gonna.